Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Right on cue, President Biden canceling $10,000 in student loan debt, $20,000 for those on Pell Grants, actually helping him, shockingly, among younger voters. Imagine what it would have done if he canceled all of it, which he should have. I digress. But if you look at the polling numbers, well, it happens to be popular when presidents actually do something for the younger generation. Frankly, all generations, because there's plenty of people who are older that have student loan debt. If you look at the numbers here, this is comparing before Biden canceled student loan debt for $10,000 for everybody, $20,000 for Pell Grants. If you look at age under 30, that 49% bar is before. That's in July, before this student loan debt cancellation. And look at that, 59% approval rating for those under the age of 30 after he canceled student loan debt. It even goes up for people 30 to 44 to 51%, even a little bit 65 and up. But just look at under 30, 30 to 44. It goes up 10 points for under 30, and it goes up there 4 points for 30 to 44. And that's only $10,000 he did for everybody. And it went up that much. Then you look at Biden's net approval went down by 9 points in August 2021. This is August. In this August, it's gone up 5. Started at minus 16, now at minus 11. Ooh, pretty tough. Now, I'm not slobbering over Joe Biden. Frankly, it's been pretty pathetic to me to see all these dark branded memes and adoration for Joe Biden. Slow your roll, okay? He's still trying to privatize Medicare, which isn't getting a lot of discussion. David Sirota and the Lever have done good work on that. He ran on a $15 minimum wage, abandoned that 2 years ago, ran on a public option, abandoned that 2 years ago. So, forgiving $10,000 in student loan debt, $20,000 for people on Pell Grants, capping the amount you could spend on student loans at 5% of income. It's not nothing. Obviously, give them credit for doing something. Give the activists at the Debt Collective and other activist groups most of the credit, because I don't think he would have done anything without being pressured by activist groups. But it kind of shows you, what have we been saying here? When you actually stop listening to the pundits, when you stop listening to these morons on MSNBC and CNN, when you stop listening to the consultant class, who, by the way, most of them are from very, very fancy schools, had their colleges paid for because they were born into privilege for the most part. When you stop listening to these people who fail time and time again, they lose you elections. And you actually, I don't know, just go by the polls of how popular certain policies are, you go up in popularity. This is why I've always said, is the Democratic Party trying to lose? So on one hand, deserves a little bit of credit for doing something. We should also note, clearly, by him even canceling 10,000, it shows he could cancel all of it. But of course, even though the data is showing this was a good political and policy decision for Joe Biden to cancel $10,000 in student loan debt, the Democratic Party elite, up is down, down is up, and the sky is green. Let's take a look at Paul Begala, Clinton's bag man, big in Bill Clinton's administration, was a major booster for Hillary Clinton, lives on CNN. I think he was on Crossfire years ago on CNN. He's not happy with this policy, terrible politics, he says. Let's take a look.
President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan, it's already become a hot issue on the trail. And we saw earlier in the program that there's a divide even within the Democratic Party. It turns out we have a divide at this table. Paul Begala, I'll start with you.
Well, it's bad policy as well as bad politics, right? For that amount of money, you could fund free pre-K for every 3- and 4-year-old for 10 years. You do a lot more good for poor people, communities of color, and the underprivileged by doing pre-K. You could forgive all medical debt, which, unlike student debt, is not freely entered into. So the Democrats, I'm a progressive. I want to help folks, but I think this is terrible policy. Politics, we saw Tim Ryan is in a tough race in a tough state, and he can't stand this idea. Senator Warren is all for it. She's not exactly from a swing state in Massachusetts. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada got a tough race. She doesn't like this. Michael Bennet, the senator from Colorado, he doesn't like this. Democrats, good Democrats. Sharice Davids, one of the more impressive Democrats, the only Democrat in Congress from Kansas, she doesn't like it. So what is my party doing with this? They're disadvantaging. I think they're not helping the people that we're here to help, which is poor people and underprivileged communities. And they're not helping their politicians who are running.
I don't even know where to start with that because it's so moronic. First of all, when he says student loan debt is different than medical debt because student loan debt is freely entered into, whereas medical debt isn't. Are you really free when you enter into student loan debt? You either take out the student loan debt or you don't go to college for most people. It's not like, oh, I just have a simple choice here. I take out the loans or I don't. And if I don't, yeah, I don't know, I'll just rob a bank to afford the $70,000 tuition to go name your overpriced, greedy for-profit college. It's not a free thing or an exercise of freedom to enter in a contract for student loans. We are told that you have to go to college to get ahead in this society. That is becoming more and more of a fantasy. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've gone around the country and interviewed who have college degrees, in many cases master's degrees, can't get a living wage job right now or are working 2 to 3 jobs despite having a college degree. Okay. So yeah, maybe, for the elitists on CNN who don't talk to real working people, this is, it's just an exercise of free choice to take out student loans. But for most people, if they don't, their choice is to not get ahead. Their choice is to not get a job. Their choice is to, not fulfill their potential. Their choice is to go into other things that might not be so favorable for them. So it's not some free exercise to get into when you enter into student loan debt. He also goes into that it's bad politics because he cites these Tim Ryan and Catherine Masto Cortez and all these people in close races in Ohio, Nevada, and elsewhere, and they're not happy with it because supposedly in swing states, those people in Ohio, Nevada, Colorado, they don't like these handouts. Well, first of all, he kind of leaving out the fact that Tim Ryan's a shitty candidate. He should be crushing J.D. Vance. He's not for Medicare for all. Yes, popular in the Midwest. He says he's a union guy, but I don't hear him on the front lines with the workers at Amazon, Starbucks, Trader Joe's. I was in Ohio a couple of years ago talking to GM workers as they were about to have another factory close. They all told me they can't stand Tim Ryan. He's a fake union guy. Catherine Masto Cortez in Nevada, Michael Bennet in Colorado, all neoliberal corporatists. Has nothing to do with the fact that their close races is that they are shitty candidates, that they aren't populist, that they're not for wildly popular policies. Secondly, as Paul Begala knows, in midterm elections, you usually have older voters that are the most consistent voters. They come out, they're reliable. Younger voters drop off. Younger voters don't tend to come out as much in midterm elections compared to 2 years prior in the presidential elections. Well, I don't know. Are there any younger voters who just had $10,000 of student loan debt canceled, or $20,000 if they were on Pell Grants in Ohio or Nevada or Colorado that might be more inclined to come out now to vote for Tim Ryan, Catherine Masto Cortez, Michael Bennet? Gee, I don't know. Do we have any polls that show us that young people might be more apt to come out now and vote for the Democrats? Yeah, I just showed you. Look at that under 30. Biden is up 10 points. 10 points in a month. 30 to 44. Up 4 points in a month because of the cancellation of student loan debt. Trust me, it's not because of his amazing speaking skills. That has a down ballot effect among the Democratic Party. So either Paul Gala is just willfully ignorant or he's disingenuous. This has a positive political benefit. And by the way, if Tim Ryan and these other candidates would actually be speaking, jumping on to this popular policy instead of moving away from it because Ryan is against it and these other people are against it, and pointing out, well, wait a minute, why is this being frowned upon? I didn't hear these same Republicans. I didn't hear J.D. Vance or these other opponents say, peep, who's paying for the tax cuts that the Republicans gave the rich people in 2017? $1.7 trillion tax cut Trump gave, that right-wing populist Donald Trump gave to aristocrats and wealthy donors. Who paid for that? Is that bad government policy? Why is it bad government policy to give relief to middle-class and working-class people? I don't hear any of them saying, actually, it's not taxpayer money paying for this. That's a myth. This isn't taxpayer money. But it's not just Paul Begala. Then you have media figures. So here is Catherine Rampell. She is a Washington Post economics columnist. Let's see what she had to say in response to canceling $10,000 in student loan debt.
Is forgiveness or extension of a moratorium on loan payments, in the simplest terms, is a good economic policy?
I think from an equity and an inflationary standpoint, it's not the best use of taxpayer dollars here. There are a lot of people who will benefit who appear to have relatively low or moderate incomes today, but will have very high expected future earnings. I mean, going to college is generally considered an investment. If you are someone like a medical resident, for example, you will benefit from this because your income is moderate today, but your future earnings are very high. So I think there are better ways to target the people who are actually suffering from student loan burdens, who are less likely to ever be able to pay off their debts, maybe because they never actually achieved a degree or they got a degree that was ultimately worthless. There are more targeted ways to do this that Biden has also pursued. Something more broad-based, I think it's going to cost a lot of money and may end up going to a lot of people who don't really need the help.
Going to a lot of people that don't really need the help. Well, I don't know. I went to public school on Long Island. I don't know, kind of like a middle-class suburban community. The part of town I lived in, decent, normal suburban houses. There were other parts of towns with a lot nicer houses than I grew up in. Probably parents, that were close to millionaires. Their kids went to my public school. They paid the same in taxes that I paid. Should their kids not be allowed to go to public school because they're wealthier than I was? Because their families were wealthier? We already have this baked into society that, wealthier families, this and that, have the same ability to send their kids to public school. Wealthier individuals can get Social Security, can get Medicare. Whether you think that's fair or not is a different discussion. But this isn't some new thing like, oh, well, there might be, some people that are wealthier that went to med school or whatever that will have their student loans canceled. Well, first of all, that's a very small percentage of the people that student loans were being canceled for. And secondly, this fantasy that she's pushing that, generally college, creates future earners. And, it's an investment. So a college degree, they'll have larger future earnings. Maybe at the data she's looking at as an economist, that is true. But if she would actually, leave her ivory tower and go out and speak with living, breathing human beings, as I told you, the majority of the people that have college degrees right now, I would say most of them are struggling. Most of them are drowning in inflation. Drowning in rents are soaring. I mean, even people I talk to who, have good paying jobs, their rents are going up by, $500 to $1,000 a month that they have to move, including, family members. You have this notion that, oh, it's an investment in this and that. And if you get a college degree, yeah, maybe in the short term, you'll have to eat ramen noodles and suffer with crippling debt. But in a couple of years, you'll be making plenty of money to pay off that loan. Yeah, maybe that was the case like 15 to 20 years ago. It's not the case anymore. And gee, who are the type of people that CNN has to give us this awesome analysis, very cutting edge analysis? Yeah, shockingly, she was a legacy admission to Princeton. This is from Catherine Rambell in the year 2006. Okay, I admit it. I'm one of those. I, the Princeton enrolled child of two insufferably tiger-obsessed Princeton alumni, am a legacy. As I've always said, the lack of diversity in our corporate media isn't only about skin color or gender. It's socioeconomic. The majority of the people with microphones that they're plastering makeup onto, that feed us the news and gaslight us, are cosmopolitan, out-of-touch elitists or legacy Princeton graduates, waxing poetic. Oh, college is an investment. Then you have Marco Rubio, Florida senator, who, listen to his brilliant idea for just how you handle student loan debt.
There's no reform. Let's start with this. I talked about the fact we need to reform student loans. I owed over $100,000 in student loans. The day I got elected to the Senate, I had over $100,000 still in student loans that I was able to pay off because I wrote a book. And from that money, I was able to pay it. If not, I'd still be paying it. Okay. So that's not about, I think the student loan thing in America is a big problem and it's broken and it needs to be fixed and it needs to be reformed. And I have bipartisan ideas I've been putting.
Just, if you have crippling student loan debt, just, run for Senate, get money from the Koch brothers and other dark money groups to push you in there and write a book, become a millionaire off your book, wipe out those student loan debts. Oh, gee, by the way, Marco Rubio, while deep in debt, as a senator, was juggling multiple loans and mortgages, but found the ability to buy a speedboat, luxury SUV, and made questionable investment decisions. These are the people lecturing us about student loans. These are the same people, if they take over the House, if they take over the Senate, they're going to do another massive tax cut for the richy riches of the world and say it's all paid for government, due to growth. I mean, by the way, the Democratic Party, they're full of shit too. For the most part, the Democratic, how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for it? As they give $3 billion here, $9 billion here to Ukraine, as we bomb 9 countries at once, as we continue to shower hedge funders with, tax cuts, capital gains cut. It's pathetic all around. The truth is, Biden's student loan cancellation was a small step in the right direction. It's not nearly enough. I don't think people should be posting dark branded memes and celebrating. He's still a neoliberal corporatist. He's corrupt. So is the Democratic Party. But we shouldn't also not let these morons gaslight us that this is somehow regressive and that, it's only helping the rich. It's helping millions of people. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.